demonstrate a very good sound recording program for Windows called GoldWave. It's not a free program like Audacity. I have seen prices range from $55 to I think $65, but I just checked it as of tonight, this being November 27th, 2019, and it was $45 for a lifetime license. Anyway, I'm going to demonstrate this program and how to get started with it. Now when you first get it, it'll show up as a trial version, and if you paid for it, you should get an activation code to put into it. Now mine is fully activated, and I think mine is version 5.70, and it runs pretty good. Now they have the 6.x now, which I think might even do surround sound. Of course you have to have a hardware to go with that. So anyway, let's see what we get going here. Okay, now we're at the desktop, and I'm using a lower screen resolution than I normally use so it can record better as a video. And I'm actually going to use a screen capture tool so it get higher quality. So naturally we'll go into GoldWave, and it normally does not come up this fast, but I have a solid state hard drive, and those things do get up and boogie. Normally you can expect maybe 5 to 10 seconds for this program to fire up. And we'll make sure that my screen capture tool is running. Okay, this is what GoldWave basically looks like. Some of you may see a little bit different layout. Let's see if I get another layout that you may sometimes see. You may see something like this. Personally, myself, I think it's more cumbersome. So, if you see this, you don't like it, you just exit out, and it just moves the stuff up in here, and it's more compact. It gives me everything I need. Now, this program has 2 record buttons, which may seem idiotic, which is a purpose. The one you see here is like an instant record, but a lot of times you don't get to set your parameters. And sometimes it just uses what has been used previously. And sometimes it may ask you for a duration. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to new, or you can go to file, either one. We'll go to new, and you should get this dialog. For most purposes, we'll leave the number of channels to 2 was the stereo. Uh, Now, if you're just doing dictations and really cramped for space or something, you might switch it to mono. Sampling rate is very important. Most applications in today's times, you're going to run it at 44,100, which is CD quality. Now, if you're really cramped for space and you don't mind lower quality, you can select a lower rate. Now, be aware that some devices may complain about weird sampling rates. So I would stick with stuff like 22,050, 24,100. I think 48,000 are pretty common too. And then of course every time you double this number, you can safely record another octave higher. And so anyway, I'm going to leave it at 44,100 since it's very standard. This next thing, this is where it's best to overdo it rather than underdo it. Like if you're going to record a whole church service and you gotta decide for yourself what is the longest possible that the church service may last. And if it's, let's say, an hour, hour and a half, I'll go ahead and give it 2 hours. If there's even a slight chance going over 2 hours, go ahead and give it 2.5 or 3 hours. So anyway, I'm going to use 15 minutes here. Well, I'll go ahead and use an hour because I want to demonstrate a problem that often comes up. And then of course there's presets too that sets a lot of stuff for you. And if you're not interested, just click somewhere outside of that area. Click on OK. Now depending on your time settings, these grid lines will be different, being closer together, further apart, calibrated differently. And that's normal. And so anyway, this thing's ready to record. Well, actually, for the first time, or with a new setting, this here, which is right of the record buttons, see a couple little things. This is very critical. So what this is the control properties. This here is more of my personal preference. What I've programmed here basically, that when I hit the space bar, it just starts instantly playing at a selected point. And record, personally myself, I like the second thing which says monitor input on visuals. That way it gives you real-time view and control. So like if I hit some keys on my digital piano, and you can see some activity, get an idea how strong your signal is. And device, this is extremely critical. First of all, if you're using a unpluggable device, like a USB sound module or a USB microphone, be sure to plug it in before you fire this program up. If you don't, you get yourself in a mess and it takes longer to correct things. So if you have a portable sound device or USB microphone, be sure to plug that in. Very critical. Now, what we have to look at here is this second part where it says record. Normally, for my own applications, most of the time I use the what you hear. It's the same as stereo mix on a lot of systems. And by the way, a lot of systems you do not see stereo mix. If that happens to you, let's cancel here for the time being. Go down to the system tray to the volume icon and right click on it and go to recording devices. And now on a lot of onboard video, what onboard means is a video chip on the motherboard itself. Now, a lot of systems that's disabled, probably due to laws or something trying to limit piracy. But it can be a pain in the rear for musicians. If that happens to you, literally do the recording tab and right click. And where it says show disabled devices, make sure that's checkmarked. Now the reason why I don't say stereo mix on here is because I'm using a custom sound card. It's not on board. This is a PCIe sound card, so their terminology may be different. That's normal. So we'll cancel here so no changes made. Go back into control properties. Go back into devices. Now actually I have at least 2 recording devices on here. Partly due to my audio setup that I have. And this where it says microphone array. It's actually misleading. It's also with a line input with USB. If you're working on with audio mixers, sometimes things can get hairy, and you need a separate recording device depending on your hardware configuration. So anyway, I'm going to use this. The next part, very critical, is this volume, dB, and because when you record, and you want to get your waveforms to where they fill a significant portion of the height. And if not, and if it gets too much like quote flatlined, you will get a weak signal and probably pretty poor, and you try to amplify it later and may come out lousy. So anyway, this is very critical, and this is what this control here controls your input, your recording volume. And watch what happens. I love placing stuff on my digital piano, and watch the VU meters here as I change this. This is too strong. If you record like this, the waveforms will get huge and it'll be very distorted. It'll sound lousy. Now to the other extreme. Now, usually will get more extreme than that. And what will happen is you'll get a very weak signal, almost flatline. So we'll put this back where I had it. And on many systems, you will see negative numbers here. That's very common. And in fact, if I flip over to what I usually use, what you hear, here I am in the negative range, and that is normal. I go back to microphone array. That's my USB recorder. And there's no negative values here. So it does depend a lot on the device. Now, and if you're getting close to zero, like we have negative values and zeros up around here, watch out, they may be getting strong signals. So let's do a quick test. Now you do not have to be exact with this, but if you're off significantly, then you issue. So anyway, we're ready to record something. So there's two record things. Most of the time I use the second one. That allows me to start recording using the parameters that I set. Now the first one, let's see, I think if you already set up a new file, which I did, it might be a little easier. Let's go ahead and use this. Well, I'll go ahead and use the second one because I want to show you a problem that happens. So here we go. Okay, now if you look to see where those screen turned largely black in the waveform area, that is because I allocated 15 minutes, but I didn't even use a minute of it. So what I want to do, I want to go to the edit menu, and you see this little sliver of blue the background here. I'll go to the edit menu and then trim. If you forget to do that and you save this file, it's looking much bigger than needed, and you're going to have a lot of silence at the end. Like here, it'll be over 14.5 minutes of silence. So I'm going to here to trim. What that did, that cut out that whole black region. And down here at the bottom, where it shows 0 to almost 20 seconds. It's in units of thousands of a second. And when you look at this with an oscilloscope type readout, this looks healthy. And, and, and the higher these are, the louder these are. Now here I held out the notes at the end and it decayed and the volume went down. That's normal. Where it's perfectly straight line, that means it's totally silent. So anyway, there may be issues you may have to deal with, but if it's something very critical that you're afraid of losing, go ahead and save it. And then, of course, take note of where you're saving it at. So test one. And when you go to save it, be aware of your file type and the WAV format. That's usually uncompressed and more ready for CD burning. But it can eat up about 10 megabytes a minute. And usually the CD settings, like PCM signed 16-bit and stereo. And most of the time you're going to run at 16 bits. Unless you got some real high quality applications that go beyond CD quality, you're going to use 16 bits. So let's save that. And now we'll show you some tricks. Let's say something happened that's a little bit too weak. I can go to change and go to the effects menu. Go down to volume, change volume. And you can either go by decibels or by percent. I kind of like the percent method myself. But I'm not going to crucify you if you like to go by decibels. So, let's say I want to make it a tad stronger. Let's just go to 110%. Approximately. Close enough. Now watch what happens here. It's a little bit stronger. Now I want to demonstrate to you what happens that's not normal. Again, what I'm about to do is not normal. First I want to play this back and let you hear it. Well, let's see. I will also cut out some silence here. Now this program, when you want to make a selection, what you do is start somewhere around the middle or so. You hold down on the left mouse button. You drag to the left until you get to the left point. And you continue to hold down the left mouse button and go to the right, but carefully. And make sure you don't accidentally get over the waveform. And then now I'm going to cut. And I just took that silence out of it. Now notice the whole background turned flat. Now, if I was trying to play this, I don't think it'll play. No, it will not play. So I would go to, where it says, well, SEL stands for select all, and see the whole thing. So now I try to play it. Yeah, I feel pretty strong there. That almost flipped. And now what they mean by flipping is when the waveform is so big, height-wise, that it actually chops off the tops and the bottoms of the waveform. That's not normal. And it'll actually distort the sound. In fact, I want to demonstrate that problem. Again, what I'm about to do is not normal. Okay, over 300% here. Now this is going to get loud and probably distorted. This is not normal. Actually didn't distort as bad as I feared that it would. Or if you make a mistake on this program, remember Control Z as a zebra, hold down Control and hit Z. And that undoes your last operation. If you hit it again, it'll progressively undo your operations from the newest to the oldest. Now they'll get more severe here on this overdrive. This is very severe. Now if you ever see that, that is clearly abnormal. It's probably going to sound awful. And see how the BUs are bumping all the way over? I'm surprised it didn't sound a lot worse than what it did. They had it been vocals or something, it might be worse. So let's control. And by the way, if you get a recording like this, I'm sorry, you can't really fix it. You should try and knock it down, but it's already washed out. And I'm sorry, you just have to do the recording again if you can. So that's the reason why it's so critical to get the levels regulated. And here it's actually better to slightly underdo it than to overdo it. So I'm going to hit Control Z again. Now I'm going to go the opposite way. It's pretty extreme. It's less than 5%. Now, see where that's almost flatline, almost like a patient that died on the table. Almost like an EKG, almost like a dead man. Now, we'll play this back. I can't even hear it. It's so weak. So, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you should be lucky doing the change volume and boost this up until up to 1,000%. And let's see what we get here. And then more severe cases may have to do this in a couple steps. I'll take up about another, they take up close to 200%, 190 approximately. That's close to what we had. And of course, if you forget to save your work, it will remind you. Okay, now let's say we want to save this as an MP3 file. And so it doesn't take up the lots of space, like on a flash drive or an MP3 player. So what we do now, first of all, GoldWave does not have a built-in MP3 encoder. Now, if you have Windows 10 and a new version of GoldWave, you're in luck, and it will use the Windows 10 built-in MP3 encoder. If you don't have that, unfortunately, you will have to download one called Lame, Lame, and that you have to make sure you get the right one, and then we get it, and need to be put in a certain place. Usually go to the C drive. It's a 64-bit system, which this is. You'll see two program files folders. You want the x86. You'll look up the GoldWave, and you'll look in here. There it is, a lane encoder. It's a DLL file. Because I have file extensions turned on by personal choice. So anyway, once you have that in here, you can go to Save As and go to Save As Type and go to MP3 Audio and you want to be sure to pay attention versus KVMS. You want at least 128. That's for average quality. Now, if you have good works, like nice orchestration, you may want to take that up to 192. I think it'll go as high as 320. Just the higher this number, the better the quality and the bigger the file, but still not as big as a WAV file. An uncompressed WAV file. Plus, you need to change that and show you your options there. And once you're satisfied, go ahead and save it. And you're done. Now, subsequent uses of this program will get much easier. Go in, and again, I have a solid state hard drive, so that's the reason why it's so fast. Now, alternatively, you can go to this record button and you don't have a maximum time pre-program, it'll ask you. But right now I have it set for a maximum of 1 hour. So now it's already running. So the record will listen. Okay. Now the nice thing about this method is it often trims automatically. And if you're ever in doubt, you'll see a horizontal scroll bar down here. And then, of course, I got a bit of silence there, so I'm going to cut that out. Into the cut. And then if I really wanted to get precise there, I can get just a sliver, do the select, and it's really zoomed in now. And then do the cut again. Now it basically knows the way. Now the Windows 10 systems sometimes will have maybe 1, maybe 2/10 of a second delay from the time you hit the start. Now you notice the background is black. If you try to play here, nothing will happen. So I'll go to select all and then try it. The reason why it's 3 play buttons, you can program them differently. And that's normal. I have a program that's the same, so it doesn't matter. So, anyway, now if I forget to save, I try to exit. It'll remind me. And again, take note of where to save to. And basically that's how you use GoldWave. And it's best to play around with it some. And of course in subsequent uses, real fast, real easy. And to select your maximum duration. Again, overdo that, not underdo it. And yeah, so if we record something. And then again, now see all this black space. That means it's supposed to try to save this. This will save the whole duration. That would be an hour. So I'm going to do the edit and then trim. And then I cut out that. And then I can just cut out the at the beginning. And do the select all. Now if you're ever in doubt, like with the trim or with, like you don't know if it's needed or not, I'm going to simulate the problem here. See how the horizontal scroll bar? If you see that, and click on the all, and then select all, and you'll see there's a bunch of silence needs to be cut out. So again, and if you forget, again, by the way, if you click on this X, it doesn't exit the program, it just exits that file. So let's click on yes, on test 3. Anyway, that's a demonstration of the GoldWave, and hopefully it gives you a basic understanding of it, and hopefully it'll do what you want it to do. And meanwhile, may God's peace be with you.